The neighborhood of Willow Creek was quiet, uniform, and undeniably strict. Every home looked like it had been pulled from the same catalog: beige siding, manicured lawns, and cars tucked neatly in driveways. It was the kind of place where the HOA, Homeowners Association, ruled with an iron fist, wrapped in paperwork. Rules were rules, and most people followed them, if only to avoid the endless letters and fines. But then there was Karen. Karen moved into Willow Creek with her husband, 2 kids, and 3 oversized SUVs. From the very beginning, she announced herself as a different type of neighbor. At the first HOA meeting, she stood up, flipped through the bylaws, and declared loudly, "These rules don't apply to me or my family. I pay my mortgage. I can do whatever I want." Everyone in the room shifted uncomfortably. But Karen seemed thrilled with the attention. Her house quickly became the outlier. Lawn overgrown one week, artificial pink flamingos stuck in the grass the next. She parked one SUV across the sidewalk, another on the street overnight, and the third halfway on her lawn. The HOA president, Mr. Lawson, a gray-haired man who treated the rulebook like scripture, was on edge. "Ma'am," he warned one evening, pointing at her car blocking the sidewalk, "this violates Section 3. Paragraph 2. No vehicle shall obstruct walkways." Karen smirked, arms crossed. "Do you pay my car note?" "No." "Then don't tell me where to park." The neighborhood sighed collectively. A few whispered about filing complaints, but Karen seemed untouchable. She wore her defiance like armor, walking around with sunglasses pushed up on her head, latte in hand, daring anyone to confront her. Her children even picked up the attitude, riding their bikes in the middle of the street and shouting, "Rules are for losers," whenever Lawson's clipboard appeared. By the second month, Karen had racked up a dozen official warnings. The HOA sent letters, fines, even a polite mediator. Each time, she tossed the paperwork in the trash, announcing, "I'm not paying a dime. They can't do anything." Her favorite line became a neighborhood mantra, whispered with both dread and amusement, "HOA rules don't apply to me." For weeks, her arrogance went unchecked. Neighbors started to wonder if she was right, if perhaps Karen really was immune. Maybe she had discovered some loophole, some secret clause in the bylaws. But the thing about rules was, they weren't written for fun. They were written with consequences in mind. And when Karen's driveway overflowed one Saturday night after a family party, spilling 4 cars onto the curb in clear violation of the no overnight street parking policy, she unknowingly triggered the one consequence she never saw coming: the tow truck. And unlike the HOA's letters, the tow truck didn't ask for permission. The night of the party, Karen's driveway resembled a used car dealership. Music pulsed from her backyard, kids shrieked in the pool, and the smell of grilled burgers filled the air. Neighbors peered through blinds, some annoyed, others entertained. But everyone noticed the row of vehicles parked along the curb. "This is it," whispered Mrs. Jensen to her husband as she sipped her tea by the window. "Lawson's not going to let this slide." Sure enough, Lawson drove by in his golf cart at precisely 10:15 p.m., clipboard in hand. He paused in front of Karen's house, stared at the lineup of vehicles, and jotted notes furiously. The headlights from Karen's cousin's truck reflected in his glasses. He shook his head, muttering, "Violation, violation, violation." Inside, Karen spotted him from the kitchen. "Oh, look, the clipboard king himself," she announced loudly, making sure her guests heard. "Guess he doesn't have better things to do." Laughter erupted around her. She threw open the window and called, "Hey Lawson. Rules don't apply tonight, it's a family party." Then she shut the blinds dramatically, soaking in the applause from her audience. By midnight, the street was lined with 7 cars. Neighbors trying to get home had to zigzag around bumpers. One delivery driver nearly clipped a sedan sticking out too far. Complaints buzzed through text groups. At 1 a.m., Lawson made his move. He dialed the towing service contracted by the HOA. His voice was steady, but there was a hint of satisfaction in it. Yes. I have a violation at Willow Creek. Multiple vehicles parked overnight on the curb. You'll want to bring 2 trucks. The dispatcher promised someone would arrive within the hour. Back at Karen's, the party wound down. Guests trickled out, but 3 cars remained, her cousin's lifted truck, her husband's work van, and one of Karen's prized SUVs. She didn't bother moving them. Why would she? In her mind, she had already won the war against the HOA. Don't worry about it, she told her husband, waving a hand. They can't touch us. The HOA is all bark, no bite. At 2:30 a.m., flashing amber lights appeared at the end of the street. 2 tow trucks rumbled forward. Engines humming low, chains rattling like a warning. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains, phones ready to record. It was the moment they'd been waiting for. The first tow operator stepped out, wearing heavy gloves and a no-nonsense expression. He glanced at the clipboard Lawson handed him and nodded. Karen, oblivious, had just gone to bed. She would soon wake too. The sound of chains clinking and engines revving, the sound of her untouchable world colliding with reality. The tow trucks thought otherwise. The metallic clink of chains echoed through Willow Creek like a battle cry. At 3 a.m., the neighborhood was alive with whispers and muffled gasps as the tow operators went to work. The first truck backed up to Karen's cousin's massive lifted Ford. The driver lowered the boom, hooked the axle with precision, and began to crank. The truck groaned as its front wheels lifted off the ground. Inside Karen's house, her dog began barking furiously. Lights flicked on in the upstairs hallway. Moments later, the front door swung open, and Karen stepped out in a pink bathrobe, hair tied up messily. "What the hell is going on?" she shouted, barefoot on the driveway. The tow operator didn't flinch. "Ma'am, this vehicle is in violation of HOA policy. It's being towed." Karen stormed forward, hands on hips. "No, it's not. HOA rules don't apply to me. I told Lawson that 100 times. Unhook it right now or I'm calling the police." The operator raised an eyebrow. "You do that. But this truck is leaving either way." Her husband appeared behind her, rubbing his eyes. "Karen, maybe just let them. Don't you dare." She snapped at him before spinning back to the operator. "You can't just take cars from private property. This is harassment." Lawson, standing at the curb, cleared his throat and held up a stack of papers. According to Section 4, Paragraph 7, any vehicle parked overnight on the curb is subject to immediate tow. This isn't harassment, it's enforcement. Karen's face turned crimson. "I don't care what your stupid papers say. That's my cousin's truck." The second tow operator had already moved to her prized SUV. Chains rattled as he secured the wheels. Karen screamed, rushing toward him. "Touch that car and I'll sue you. I'll sue this whole neighborhood." But the SUV lifted smoothly, headlights pointing toward the sky like defeated soldiers. Gasps echoed from the houses as neighbors filmed the spectacle from their porches. Karen jumped in front of the tow truck, spreading her arms wide. "You'll have to run me over before you take my car." The operator, calm as ever, stepped aside and pointed to the posted HOA towing policy sign at the entrance of the neighborhood. "Rules are rules, lady. This isn't personal." Her husband tugged at her arm, whispering, "Karen, please. It's not worth it." But Karen wasn't backing down. "They'll regret this. Everyone will regret this." The engines roared, and within minutes, the vehicles disappeared down the street, leaving Karen standing barefoot in the cold, fuming with rage as the neighborhood silently celebrated. The next morning, Willow Creek buzzed with gossip. Word spread faster than wildfire. Karen's cars had been towed. Videos from smartphones circulated in the community group chat, showing her screaming in her bathrobe as her SUV was hauled away. Even residents who had slept through the night woke up to a flood of messages. Finally, the HOA did something about her. Karen, however, wasn't defeated, at least not outwardly. She stormed into the HOA office at 9 a.m. sharp, sunglasses covering her tired eyes, slamming her purse on the counter. "This is illegal," she barked at Lawson, who sat calmly with his clipboard. "You had no right to tow my vehicles." Lawson adjusted his glasses. "Actually, we did. Section 4 is very clear. You were warned multiple times. You ignored every notice. The towing company acted within its rights." "I'm not paying those fees," Karen snapped. "I'll sue. I'll get the news involved. You'll all regret this." Lawson leaned back in his chair, almost amused. "Ma'am, the cars are impounded. If you don't pay, they stay there. The HOA isn't the one charging you, it's the towing company. You'll need to take it up with them." Her mouth fell open. The reality hit her like a brick. This wasn't just a fine she could toss in the trash. This was real money, hundreds in towing fees, plus daily storage costs. By the time she drove her husband's remaining vehicle to the impound lot, the bill had grown to nearly $1,200. The clerk slid the invoice across the counter without sympathy. "Cash or card?" Karen's face burned red as she slapped her credit card down, muttering curses under her breath. Each swipe felt like defeat. When she returned to Willow Creek, SUV rumbling back into the driveway, her neighbors were waiting. Some pretended to be watering lawns, others walked dogs that didn't need walking. All of them stared. And when Karen stepped out, one of the kids shouted, "Rules do apply, Karen." Laughter erupted around the street. For the first time, Karen didn't have a comeback. She adjusted her sunglasses, grabbed her latte, and marched inside without a word. In the weeks that followed, her behavior shifted. The flamingos disappeared from her lawn. The SUV stayed in the driveway, never on the curb. The trash bins, once left out for days, were now wheeled back promptly. Karen was quieter, less combative. The legend of that night lived on, though. Neighbors would chuckle, retelling the story whenever someone mentioned HOA rules. Remember when Karen thought she was untouchable? The tow truck thought otherwise. And in Willow Creek, the street stayed clear, because sometimes it only takes one tow to remind everyone that the rules weren't just suggestions.